Hello class 11. I was doing the chapter Karma with you and the chapter is in your Mindscape book. This is the second chapter that I am doing. So before starting the next part, I want to give you a brief recapitulation of what we have done in the first part. So we come to know that Sir Mohan Lal is such a person who thinks himself to be superior. He is educated from a very good university, Oxford University. He looks at the mirror and thinks it to be cheaper than him. And he considers everything in India to be very dirty and inefficient. On the other hand, we are introduced to another character, that is Lady Lal, his wife. And we find the exact opposite of a character in her. What is that? She loves to talk, she is uneducated and she wears dirty saris. She loves to talk with any random people without thinking about the class and anything. She chews bitter lips and all that. So we get a stark difference in the character between the husband and the wife. Now I come to the next part, but before going to the next part, I am reading out from the last portion of the first part for you to remember. Lakshmi chatted away merrily. She was fond of little gossip and had no one to talk at home. So she had no one to talk to at home. Her husband never had any time to spare for her. Her husband did not give her any time. She lived in the upper story of the house and he on the ground floor. So you can understand the difference. There was very much lack of communication between the husband and the wife. He did not like her poor illiterate relatives hanging around his bungalow, so they never came. He came up to her once in a while at night, stayed for a few minutes. He just ordered her about in anglicized Hindustani, and she obeyed passively. So he used to come once in a while to meet her and he used to speak in an anglicized Hindustani, which means not full Hindustani, not very much fully in English, somewhere in between. This nocturnal visits had, however, borne no fruit, means they had no kids. The signal came down and the clanging of the bell announced the approaching of the train. So there was this clanging of the bell and it was announced that the train was coming. Lady Lal hurriedly finished off her meal. She got up, still licking the stone of the pickled mangoes. She was still licking the stone of the pickled mango. She emitted a loud belch as she went to the public tap to rinse her mouth and wash her hand. Belch means that after food you give out a dhekur or something, you say in Bengali. So after giving out that, she went and then she washed her tiffin box. After washing, she dried her mouth with the loose end of her sari and walked back to her steel trunk, belching and thanking the gods for the favor of filling the meal. Typical middle class people, she thanked God for the meal that she had. The train steamed in. It gave out the smoke. Lakshmi found herself facing an almost empty interclass zenana compartment next to the guard's van at the tail end of the train. So it was at the tail end of the train and she found her compartment there. The rest of the train was packed. She heaved her squat, bulky frame through the door, found a seat by the window. She got up, with her bulky body, and she got a seat by the window. She produced a 2 bit from a knot in her sari and dismissed the coolie. So she dismissed the coolie, let him go. She then opened the beetle case and made herself 2 betel leaves charged with red and white paste. Red and white, those who have beetles, you may know. Choon, khoir and whatever is given, they're talking about that. Nuts, shupuri and whatever. Cardamoms, lobongo. These she thrust into her mouth. She got into her mouth till her cheeks bulged like this on both the sides. Then she rested her chin on her hands like this, sat gazing idly at the jostling crowd on the platform. Jostling means where the people are pushing each other, that kind of a crowd. The arrival of the train did not disturb Sir Mohanlal's sang-froid. He continued to sip his scotch, ordered the bearer to tell him when he had moved the luggage to the first class compartment. The train had arrived, and most of us, when the train arrives, we just hurry up. But Sir Mohanlal is as if he felt the train cannot leave without taking him. So he always felt that he was superior. He just took his scotch until the bearer told him that all the luggages, the coolie had kept. Excitement, bustle and hurry were exhibitions of bad breeding. He thought hurry, excitement, these are bad qualities which shows that you are not well bred. And Sir Mohanlal was eminently well bred. He wanted everything tickety-boo and orderly. He wanted everything very properly. So he was a pure perfectionist. In his 5 years abroad, Sir Mohanlal had acquired the manners and attitude of the upper classes. He rarely spoke Hindustani. When he did, it was like an Englishman's, only the very necessary words and properly anglicized. But he fancied his English, finished and refined at no less than a place than the University of Oxford. So he went there, he learned all their, ways, behaviors, and even if he speaks in Hindi, it's not totally Hindustani, anglicized form. He could talk on almost any subject, books, politics, people. How frequently had he heard English people say that he spoke like an Englishman. So many people had told him that his accent is just like the Britishers or the English people. Sir Mohanlal ordered if he would be travelling alone. It was a cantonment and some English officers might be on the train. So he always wanted the company of English men so that he can show off many things. Okay. His heart warmed at the prospect of an impressive conversation. He wanted an impressive conversation because he thought that only he can have impressive conversations with the English people. With Indians, he cannot have any, good conversation at all. He never showed any sign of eagerness to talk to the English as most Indians did. Nor was he loud, aggressive, opinionated like them. So, nor was he very loud, neither was he aggressive. Opinionated means giving opinion on every matter without knowing the fact. So, he was not like this. He was very different from the other, Indians. He went about his business with an expressionless matter of factness. He would retire to his corner by the window, get out a copy of the Times. He would fold it in a way in which the name of the paper was visible to the others while he did the crossword puzzle. So he would go, he would take out the paper. You can see how he wanted to show off the fact that he is so well educated. And he used to fold the paper in such a way so that the Times, this name of the paper is visible and people can be, oh my God, this person reads English newspaper, the Times. He's superbly educated. He's so superior. Okay. Someone would like to borrow it when you put it aside with a gesture of signifying, I have finished with it. Perhaps someone would recognize his balliol tie, which he always wore while traveling. So he would, after reading, he would keep it aside in order to show the sign that he has completed it. Maybe in the compartment anyone could notice the balliol tie, which signifies that how educated he is. Okay. And he used to love this, all things. That would open a vista leading to a fairyland of Oxford colleges, masters, dons, tutors, boat races, rugger matches. If both the Times and the tie failed, Sir Mohan would, koi hai, his bearer to get the scotch out. So if anybody would notice his tie, they would start talking about his, the college, the masters, the tutors, the races, the games that he played. And if both, the times and the tie fail, then he would order the bearer scotch, which also show that how superior he feels, because he can order a scotch, something expensive. So children, I'll just keep it till this much. In the next video, I shall continue with the next part of the story. Thank you.